Now, what is your sexual expression, or what do you desire in a sexual experience? Part of reclaiming your feminine energy is to step into the embodiment of the wild woman. And part of that is also knowing what you desire in the bedroom and out of the bedroom. And so this is about really embodying and fully accepting your sexual experience, and at the same time coming into your own authentic spirit. One cannot exist without the other. So in this episode today, I'm going to discuss some questions, some reflections that you can start thinking about and asking yourself to discover more about your own sexual experience, your sexual expression, and your desires, and what it means to unlock your sexual expression. And if you don't know me, my name is Jessica Angelari. Welcome back to my channel. And if you are new here, welcome. I'm so excited to have you, where we speak about all things related to embodiment, sexuality, sensuality, and love and relationships. And I'm really excited to dive into this juicy topic today, because a common thing that I've seen amongst women, and when it comes to sex, is there is this mismatch of sexual desires and a mismatch of their sexual expression and what feels true and authentic for each woman. When we know that sexuality and your spirit go hand in hand, so your spirit being this essence of love, of your true essence, we then experience our sexual expression not as something that is outside of us or something that we do or something that we rely on for others to do for us. Instead, it is this power that we source from within. So when you understand in yourself and you know who you are as a sexual wild being, fully immersed in your sensuality, then you don't hold back. You don't hold back in life. You don't hold back in your boundaries, in your relationship. You don't wait for another to fulfill you. You know how to do that for yourself, but you are also open to receiving another as well. And you move in life, you move in your sexuality, in your intimate experiences from this place of authenticity and self-worth, and you recognize what your needs are, what your desires are, and even you and your partner have different styles of sexuality. You have your own sex styles, and in this way as well, you untangle the responsibilities of the other to get your needs met or to get you fully turned on. Yes, it is their responsibility, but we work on this together. So you have to start knowing yourself and knowing how pleasure feels in your body. You know that I love to speak about pleasure here in this channel. And when you experience pleasure on your own that is not sexualized, you start to understand what it is that you desire and want. Now, I spoke about pleasure last week in my episode about ways to stop or to overcome self-doubt and guilt using pleasure tools. So make sure you check that out. I know you'll love that. And when I speak about pleasure, I'm speaking about this expression of erotic energy that isn't necessarily, as I said, sexualized. This erotic energy that is felt in the body as sensations, as pleasure. As humans, we all have this erotic energy, this sexual energy running through us all. And it's alive. This life force is alive in the universe, in all things nature. And it is in a sexual experience that we find it easier to connect with this erotic energy. And when we are in a sexual experience, we might even find it easier to connect to pleasure as well. But we can take this experience and transfer this pleasurable experience in all moments that we live in every day. And it happens in presence, being present in your body. So pleasure is felt in the body as a sensual experience where you're connected deeply with all of your senses, deeply with the reality within you and around you as well. And then the more that you are activated in this pleasure, the more that You know what you love and what you desire than in a sexual act. So the important piece here is to practice this pleasure and to practice activating the sexual energy within your body out of the bedroom. So doing this for yourself in a way that doesn't feel sexualized. So then you can understand what you love. You understand what kind of touch you want. You might enjoy the slowness of touch. Some of us, we enjoy soft sex. Sometimes it's rough, sometimes it's sensual. Maybe you're drawn to subtle movements of your body and that helps you to get activated. This is why I work a lot with the womb space, the pelvic region, and I do a lot of womb circles, hip circles. Some of us are interested in play. Some of us are interested in really hard touch and like to be grabbed. Some of us like to be touched in a feathery, light way. So it's about knowing for yourself what gets you turned on, what helps you to get warmed up. And this is why these touch practices allow us to experiment and to explore this for ourselves, again, in a way that isn't sexualized. So, really dismantling the shame around that and getting really curious and confident to do that for yourself. So, in this way, you start to know what is true for you, what feels good and authentic for you. And you explore that for yourself and you own it. And knowing as well that this changes all the time. The feminine is changing, she's moving. So it's about knowing what feels true for you. And this happens when you are connected with your body's wisdom, with her sensations, her cues, coming into this aliveness of what is present within you with no judgment. So creating space for what is there. It doesn't always have to feel good. The awareness is what helps us to become more connected. So even if you're feeling tense and tight and heavy and dense or blocked, even that in itself, becoming aware with that can transform into a pleasurable experience because you're becoming more connected with yourself. So the more that we open space and we practice this for ourselves, the more that we open up to our partner. Now, your body is so wise and she will send you signals. She carries so much wisdom, which is why a lot of my work is around resensitizing her so we can become so present and feel safe to really allow her to speak through us, through our sensations. And we practice listening to her and receiving her messages. So when we get really curious and present with her, and we practice meeting with her on our own, we can start to then notice where we feel disconnected, where we are not enjoying ourselves, where we are feeling more tense when we're naked. We start to pick up on these cues of the body. And maybe sometimes we also feel into where we are feeling more disassociated from the body. When we become aware of that and we allow that to come to the surface, we start to realize maybe where we are not allowing ourselves to be open, when we're not allowing ourselves to receive pleasure and goodness. So let's say you feel that your body is tense when you get naked. Perhaps your body is speaking to you here and she's saying that there is a disassociation here. So have you fully claimed yourself? To love yourself, to love your naked body. Maybe it's in the way that you express yourself sexually. How do you feel about making sounds and really breathing from the root? Or are you just breathing from your throat and closing your mouth and clenching your jaws? Maybe you're not feeling safe, and this is why your body might not feel good and open to make those sounds. Maybe if you are in a sexual experience, you're feeling that your partner is not present. And so your body, she's speaking to you in a way to let you know, okay, this is not feeling aligned here right now. Whatever it is, there is no wrong here. But awareness is always the first step. And then next, we can start to infuse rituals, feminine rituals, and sacred, sensual practices into our daily life that don't require us to be physical with someone else. Instead, we can use these feminine rituals as a way to come closer to our own existence, our own reality through our sensuality. And this is the important piece here to help you resensitize the body, to become alive with the senses within you, and to start listening to her, to start listening to the body's signals and cues and sensations, and knowing your own energy. But we are usually taught that pleasure is just for sex, or that sex is just this thing that we do. There's so many of us in this story of there's something wrong with me because I can't orgasm, or I feel that I'm not sexual because I don't fit that archetype or that image of what a sexual woman looks like. So the invitation here is to get curious and start getting curious about your own sexual expression. So we have to give space to explore it. Maybe for a lot of us, we've learned sex from just pornography, or we just assume. So we just have this idea of how it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to sound, how you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to sound and act. And we go about our lives maybe never knowing what we actually want, what we actually desire to feel, how we desire to express ourselves. And this is why I say our spirituality and our sex is infused as one, because we become aligned to the person that we truly are, fully embodied, fully erotic in our eros. So it's important that we give space to be curious about what we like. What kind of sound do we like to make? What kind of touch do we like? What kind of things get us turned on? What really allows you to be fully safe and open with your body? Usually we are only experiencing from the space of the programs that have been given to us, which is very limited, until we start to question and bring curiosity to these conditionings, to these stories that maybe have been playing out in our lives, which tends to hold us back from our true, authentic expression. And so with that, we may be carrying shame in regards to our eroticism, our sexuality, our expression. And this shame, as I said, stems from conditionings which can come from culture, religion, society, things that we've seen, media, right? So many of us have this feeling of shame when embodying our sensual side and pleasure, for asking what we want. So all of this relates even to our world and how we feel about ourselves and how we give to others, how we place our boundaries, how we choose ourselves over the desires of another, how we desire ourselves, how we touch ourselves, how we show our skin, how we love sex or not love sex, how we are maybe stopping us from enjoying ourselves, as I spoke about in our last episode about guilt and sabotage. There's a fear there. So maybe we have been fed so many stories and ideas about sex. We've maybe been told that sex is sinful, something that's dirty. So we have to come into this space to unlayer these layers, dismantle these layers, to bring consciousness around what are the parts of me that I am not yet claiming. Am I suppressing my innate primal nature out of fear? Am I blocking myself from expressing myself here, using my voice because I fear of what would that person think of me? So I'm layering these different themes around shame that's linked to our sexuality, and getting to the emotion of what is blocking us from experiencing life and orgasms and sex is such an important step, because we can really understand how and why we are showing up in certain ways in our life, why we may be getting triggered in our life, maybe why other women who are really in the embodiment of their sensuality, why does she trigger me so much? So we can start to learn what is ready to be claimed within ourselves. And that is such a power that we get to reclaim. So, how do you experience your own sexual expression? It's so limitless. Our expression is limitless. And yet, our human experience has limits around it too. No, that doesn't feel good for me. I don't want that. I don't like that. And that's important too. But maybe we are often just thinking about what we don't like. What about what you do like? So it really starts with you knowing yourself and knowing what you love. That's not related to a sexual experience, bringing that to your awareness. And also knowing how it feels to be safe with someone who can hold your own unique expression too. I really do love helping women and guiding them to come into this embodied expression of their own sexual aliveness and to help them integrate this in their life and to come into this great love for their body and their sensuality. And that's the thing, when you explore your sensuality and your aliveness and your feminine energy, you start to react to the aliveness within you. You become awakened to your senses and you come to know your own expression. And we come back to our wholeness. And that's what our sexuality can really offer us. It helps us to integrate all these lost pieces of us, maybe because of fear, and we come back to our wholeness. When I started to perform on stage as a samba dancer, it was honestly the first time that I truly became fully alive. I started to step into and awaken this woman in me who I thought was awake, who I thought was alive, but this was just next level. I was able to be so expressive in who I truly was, which was wild, free, sensual, and not for anyone else but for me. This was the first time that I can say that I started to know that I had this power in my body. And I started to consciously then play around with this. I started to play around with my erotica and explore that and what she feels like in a sacred space. And I started to then also explore not only my body and this expansiveness that I can feel when I'm fully immersed in my erotic embodied experience, but also I started to explore my own voice. And I was opening my voice through my breath, through my hips, moving my hips. And so I was meeting with the aspect of myself that I truly loved. I could truly say that I started to fall in love with myself even more. And I started to redefine sex that felt good for me. And so this exploration of my own sexual expression started to help me come back to who I truly was, my true authentic essence, because I was being present. I was learning to receive myself. I was learning to surrender and to be in love with the experience that I was in without any expectation, and also to open to everything that needed to be felt. To cry, even crying became part of this expression of mine, like really crying and purging, moving my body, moving my hips, squeezing my yoni. And so through this experience and dedication to the wild woman and my exploration in this, I started to really know myself deeper. And I gave space for this radiant queen to come alive through me. I started to allow myself to practice these different aspects of my wild self in my own sacred container with me and then with my partner. And so with my partner now, he really does provide this space for my body to really let go and to go into these other spaces and dimensions. And he brings this great, fierce, powerful consciousness to the space. And it's different to what I've experienced in the past with other relationships, where yes, he was dominant and yes, he was great at what he did, but the awareness was different. The awareness was purely on him. and how fast he could make me feel good. But in this relationship, my body can relax even more, and I'm not worried about what sounds I'm making or what ways to perform or to look a certain way or how to move. I'm just fully immersed in the experience. My senses are turned on, and I'm listening to not only myself, but to him as well. So my sensuality is, yes, for me, but for him too. And so the question that we can ask ourselves is, how can I find my own flow, my own surrendered, my own sensual state where I'm letting go of everything? I'm surrendered. And when I say surrendered, I don't mean letting go completely. It's more about losing your grip whilst still being present, still being grounded, still being anchored in your body, being aware of how am I experiencing myself and then the other person in this moment as well. And this is a space I feel that we are seeking where we can feel safe to be ourselves and fully give ourselves to another, allowing ourselves to really enjoy the moment without it needing to be a performative thing. And this can lead to as well meditative states of sex. It's very subtle. It feels like your whole body is dropping into this deep presence, a state of trance. So you're bringing in presence to what you're doing. You drop into the experience in this flow state, allowing it to move you. There's no outcome, there's no goal. Your body might drop a little more, your eyes drop, your heart is activated and glowing, connected, and everything just relaxes into your being. And this is a pure presence that's right here that I'm speaking about. There's a container here that you're present to them, to you. So start exploring. And this is what feminine remembrance allows us to do in a really safe, supportive sisterhood temple. The ceremonies and practices really help you to build up and to get to know your bodies, to release the tension that's stored in your hips and in your yoni, which often really blocks our creative potential and our expressive nature. So when we come in ceremony and we do these pleasure practices like touch or the breast massage, we're doing this together, and it becomes this sacred act of love and a devotional prayer to your own sexuality and exploration of what is true for you. So come and join us in that. The doors are opened. I'd love to have you in there. So start to create space to really practice dropping into your breath, practice using different kinds of breath, using touch, use movement. Allow all of these to help you activate the energy within your womb space, your pelvic floor. And don't be afraid to slow down. Don't be afraid to get wild, to experiment. Make this devotion to yourself, to explore what you love, what sparks you, and follow that. This is a lifetime process. That's why it says it's limitless. Make a list of your top 10 desires. If you could order anything and have any sexual experience, what would you do? Be honest with yourself. And it can be so small, so big, whatever it is, and start to embody it. You have to train yourself. You have to listen to yourself. Explore, practice it. And this is where you get mastery. We need self-mastery, sexual mastery, pleasure mastery. So really start touching yourself, start feeling yourself, get to know your pussy, get to know your breasts, get to know your sensitive points on your body. Know yourself on a deep level. Really, sister, there is a whole universe inside of you. And it's a beautiful exploration of the universe that you get to explore and get curious about. The more that you do this, the more you realize there is nothing dirty or sinful about this. And we don't just do this for our own sexuality. We do this as well to become more attuned to our boundaries, our voice, our limits, our yeses, our nos, because I always say when a woman connects with her pussy, She's so connected to her power, and she doesn't apologize for this power of hers. And remember about feminine remembrance. I will drop the links below so you can apply for that. Ask me any questions. I'm here for you. Let me know, what are you going to start doing to start exploring your own sexual expression? I'd love to hear from you and what really landed with you today in this talk, in this episode, what inspired you. And if you loved this episode, make sure to click that like button, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, put that notification bell on so you can stay tuned for my upcoming episodes that I love to release every week for you. And I will leave you there. My name is Jessica Angeleri. Thank you so much, gorgeous, for being here. All my love to you. Bye.